Oh,
So, our next question from Gabriella in Roseville, Minnesota. What does owner finished dome home build entail? And I think this might also reference our calculator on our website that gives you different sort of estimations of what it would cost based on who's finishing, and owner finished is one of the options there.
right. Yeah, like on our website, we have 4 different levels of finishing. So for instance, we have a customer right now who's building in Colorado, and to have a general contractor who lines up all the people to do all the work, essentially giving you mostly hands off from the project. They take 20% of the cost kind of off the top. So if your dome's going to cost 200,000 to build, then it's 240 to employ them to do that. So step one is you just replace them and you hire all your own people. Now, sometimes these people have relationships built up and they know the good quality workers from the guys that aren't so good. So oftentimes it's not a bad option to hire them, but that's kind of step one, is you just essentially become your own general contractor. And as you go through the steps, the way Dennis has it listed, I think second to the last step is builder finisher, kind of a builder finish spot, which is really kind of a wide ranging one for opportunities, because essentially, or owner finished, I'm sorry. So really that could go from you help put up the dome raising is pretty easy. You're buying a kit, everything's prefab, you help put up the dome, but you're going to probably sub out the foundation. You may hire in roofers to do the roofing. You may hire sheetrock guys, but you may decide to put in the kitchen cabinets and do some of the flooring and painting. So it's really just kind of getting in there a little bit and trying to do work that is fairly, I'll say, easy to do for somebody who doesn't make a career out of it. Like most people are able to do a pretty good job painting. So you could save the cost of a painter by doing it yourself. Just some options like that. And it goes all the way to where you basically do almost the entire job yourself. I mean, people that do almost the entire job themselves will still hire out some work. Oftentimes the foundation being one of the things that's kind of hard to do by yourself, and usually the crew with specialized equipment makes quick and accurate work out of it. But yeah, it really kind of depends on budget, how much time you have to put towards a project, and your knowledge base. So, the more you know, the more time you have, and the less money you have, then obviously the more you want to do if possible. But if you have a lot of money and not a lot of time, it's good to hire things out. However, having said that, things have gotten pretty expensive recently. So if you are building now while things are expensive, it's nice to do whatever you can to help kind of keep the cost down if possible.
So that question was from my wife and I.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And I guess one of the things we're trying to get at with that question is what sort of option would we pursue if we were looking to essentially have the exterior of the dome built with electrical and plumbing, and then spend our time and resources, kind of at our own pace to build up the inside, build out a kitchen or maybe put some interior walls in if we wanted to.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. So the dome goes up real quick. So if you were to hire help for the dome shell, you just get the exterior up and get it weatherproof, so to say. Or even go as far so when somebody's driving by, it just looks like a finished house, even though there's a lot of work to do on the inside. That is a commonly used strategy for people, especially when budgets are involved, where they're like, hey, let's get this thing started, get it up. We can be in there and we'll kind of work on it as we go, kind of as you're suggesting. And then you have the opportunity with time to learn some skills. So maybe decide you're going to build a kitchen, and you can run some of the smaller water lines. Maybe you have a plumber that kind of puts it in your underground and gets it all into the house for you. But then from there, you can take over and do some of that yourself. So it really just depends on your comfort levels and what you're willing to tackle for the job. With YouTube, there's videos for everything out there. But having said that, you could do drywall, and it's going to take a lot of practice to get as good as a drywaller you could hire that's going to come and make it look, effortless. So, but yeah, you can absolutely do that, and that's done quite a bit actually. That same thing you're proposing. So,
and that's with the owner finished kind of estimate range.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell from my answer that it's wide ranging because it really depends on what percentage, so to say, you want to do. But yeah, that's kind of, trying to give some guidance on pricing, knowing that the parameters of it are really flexible, and some people are going to do a lot more than others. And so we try to kind of hone it in, but yeah, that should be kind of a ballpark is really the best way to look at that cost guide is a ballpark for most people under most circumstances during most economies. The things always vary significantly between states and even between cities within a state and all that good stuff. So
Okay, and with that, we'd still be responsible for hiring our own contractors to do the exterior of the dome, or that would still happen through you guys?
yeah, no, typically if you're at that stage, you're kind of going to be your own general contractor. And so you'll be, setting up your own contractors to do roofing or foundations or the framing, whatever you want. You can sometimes work with a general contractor. There's really no hard and fast rules with this, but sometimes the general contractor will keep a smaller commission than 20% if he's not running the whole project. And sometimes he has good relationships with his subcontractors and it's just kind of a tit for tat situation, but yeah, typically you'll take over that part of it a little bit as an owner finisher.
Okay, and you guys, I imagine you guys have a list of resources of subcontractors and potential other general contractors that you recommend?
We do not. So whenever anybody builds a dome in a state that they had a great experience with the contractor, he did a good job, he called us, he made sure he did everything correctly. We do try to track that. And so if you're going to be building in an area where one of these guys are, we can definitely offer you a name, but it's really kind of hit and miss. We kind of seem to get surges of domes. So, we have like 4 projects in New York right now, but then we might have a project for 2 years in New York after that. So then, there's a couple contractors that are working on domes that we could refer in New York as an example, but 2 years from now, they may have retired or did something else, or they may still be there. So it's not always 100%, but we definitely try to offer that if we are lucky enough that you're building a location where we have good feedback on contractors we could recommend. We absolutely do, but we don't really have a complete database that covers the entire country and all the counties and everything. So just kind of depends. If you said, hey, this is where I lived, you guys got any referrals for this area? And if we do, we definitely would pass that on to you for sure. So
we do have a list of domes that we track, including some that aren't ours, several that aren't ours. Right now, I think our list totals about 2,200 domes, 2,300 domes. That's the range. With more than half of those being our domes. But at least we know where the domes are located with an address. Oftentimes it's for sale. We don't know who the owner is. So we can find out from other dome owners or tell you, hey, there's a dome that's, 5 miles from you or 15 miles from you. Go knock on their door. Go drop a letter in their mailbox or send them something and talk to them. Who do they use? The other thing is that you've got several. There's one major source to help you on a lot of stuff, and that's YouTube videos. You look up YouTube videos, you can find out how to do anything. There's also a really, really good resource. What is it? Build.com. Derek?
yeah.
Matt Reisinger. Matt Reisinger has a program, and he's into a lot of the newer technology and records all of this stuff. He's got sponsors, so that's how he gets all this stuff on, major sponsors. But he puts on some seminars. You can join those. You can go back in his system. Also, buildingscience.com is another one. If you get technical and want to know some real answers, buildingscience.com is another one. You also can look at it from the standpoint of what are your limitations. We did have a couple situations where the husband quit his job because his wife was making good money and they had a good salary to live on, and basically paid for a lot of things by putting his labor into it instead of somebody else at $20, $30, $40, $50 an hour. So you're going to save a lot of money unless you're making $50 to $100 an hour, and you're going to be hiring stuff out. So it's looking at what you can do yourself, as Derek was saying.
Yep.
We also have our construction manual and our roofing manual and our virtual dome school. So when it comes to the dome specifically, we have some resources that we have to help you get started. Of course, attending dome school is great too.
One of the things that we also have is FaceTime with our customers or Zoom talks with our customers during construction. So you can hire us out if you want to do it at a lengthy time. If it's a few questions, we're going to answer your questions for you. But if you're going to be like putting your dome up, that's a situation we tell you, you certainly can put your own dome shell up. That's our system. And besides the construction manual, like I said, we've got hours that you can buy from us when you're putting it up as a consultant to be available to you. So there's different programs that will work out with you depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it. A dome raising gathers a lot of people. It's interesting to a lot of people. It's an unusual structure. There's a town up in northern Minnesota. The entire town turned out. Now the town population was 50, but they were all there. So you have people to help put up this dome shell. We do, if you want, advertise a dome raising. So those are the systems I think that are out there that I think going into it, there's some areas that you need to look at where, yes, you could do it and save money, especially when the contractor says, oh, I'm not sure how to do this. And then they start giving you some numbers and like the dome shell and don't believe that they can put up a dome shell in 2-3 days. So well, the help is out there, and the resources are out, and we'll work with you on a variety of stuff like that.
Well, and
Awesome. Thank you so much.
one quick thing, not to spend too much time on this question, but there's another question coming up too. Keep in mind, you don't need dome specialty people either for contractors. The unique part of the dome is a part that we provide, and so they don't need to figure out so I think I froze there for a second, but anyway, so it's one of those things that you don't necessarily have to worry about it being somebody that has experience with the dome. Once you're doing everything else in the dome, it's the same as any other standard construction. So I'll just kind of end it with that, I guess, real quick. So
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, I'll just tie into this thing that came in chat real quick. There's usually a pretty quick answer here. But if you were to do your own dome raising, how many people do you need to do it in that 2 to 3 days?
Is that a cultural thing? How many people of certain ilk do you need to put up a dome?
How many engineers you need to screw in a light bulb?
That's right. I'll tell you, start off from one. We had a dealer in North Carolina who put up a 40-foot dome by himself. Yep, the framework, the panels, all this stuff. Why? I don't know. I think he just wanted to prove a point. That's all he wanted to do. Generally, you're going to have scaffolding rolling around or a lift. You want 2 or 3 people up on the scaffolding, and you want another 3 or 4 people down on the ground, lifting things up, giving you different things, helping move the scaffolding around all the time. So that's where you need, a half a dozen people. But if you've got 20, 30 people, be prepared. If you've got friends and relatives and you've got neighbors and you've got the town interested, be prepared. The dome up in northern Minnesota, we had 3 sets of scaffoldings that could go up, I think 2 or 3 sections of scaffolding. And they were all working. They were all putting up the dome. That thing went up very quickly. That framework was up in 1 day. The exterior panels were put on in another day or day and a half. So it goes up very quickly. And with that many people, you're done. You get that up. We just put up a mini dome framework in our parking area. We're doing some different changes to the mini dome that we're looking at, and had to do a framework, and somebody ordered it. And this actually framework is being shipped out of here 1st of September. No, not the 1st, but 6th or 7th of September. So we put it up outside. There were 3 guys working, Aaron, you 3 guys?
Yep.
Well, 3 guys working on it. An hour and a half later, all the struts were up, sitting on top of the riser wall. So that's all it took, was an hour and a half to put the mini dome struts on top of the riser walls. Now, the riser walls took us a little longer. We were doing some things and adjustments to it, but they shouldn't take any longer than about 2 or 3 hours to get them perfect, depending on the foundation that you're on. If you're just setting them down on a concrete slab, I'm probably going to say an hour for the riser walls, and an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. That's it.
Right. So potentially, 4 to 5 hours to get your main structure.
All right.